So let me do a share screen. And I'll take toucan off. There we go. That's quite a good list, eh? Wow. Bossy. Ambitious. Witty. We've done witty. Rude. Grumpy. Thoughtful. Timid. Shy. 74 words. That's pretty good. Does that sound interesting, Elham?
Yes.
Okay. We'll never get through all those words, but we can make an attempt at this list anyway. So let me ask you guys, this is good for you. First of all, what some of these words mean. So what does humble mean?
Down to earth.
Not exactly. It's in the same ballpark, but not exactly right. No. Not exactly. The way I like to think about words like this is what's the opposite? If you understand the opposite, you understand the word, right? So the opposite of humility is pride. So the opposite of meekness, for example, is stubbornness. That helps you understand what meekness is in comparison to humility, because humility and meekness are in the same ballpark, but they're not the same thing. Humble, and there's a good expression in English called eat humble pie. Have you heard that? I had to eat humble pie. You ever heard that one?
No, I don't.
Okay, this is a good one to learn. This is common. So let me just find where my chat goes. The chat window always disappears on me when I am doing this share. Where is it? Oh, I know. I need to come to this guy. No? Where is the chat?
Maybe you can find it in the menu. The menu bar in the up.
Yeah, but this one here?
No, I can find it in the menu bar on the upside screen on
This one
view part.
Here?
On view part.
You show chat. So it looks like Shift Apple H does it. There we go. That's a good one to memorize. Right, so I'll write this one down. Humble, humility, and eat humble pie. Right, so let's look at this. Make a humble apology and accept humiliation. He will have to eat humble pie at training after being sent off for punching. Right. Does that make sense? So eating humble pie is simply a metaphor for being humiliated, but it's like the acceptance. So you and I argued black and white about some issue for 10 minutes, and I wouldn't give in and you wouldn't give in. And then we discovered that you were right and I was wrong. And now because of that, Alan's going to have to eat humble pie. Does that make sense? So if I have to eat humble pie, it's like, okay, so I'm going to admit I'm wrong, right? Hands up, tell him you were entirely right, I was entirely wrong. I don't know why I was so adamant. Do you know that word, adamant?
No.
No, that's a really good word to learn as well, right? So let's look at that word. Define adamant. Refusing to be persuaded or to change one's mind. That's what adamant means, right? And it comes from a rock, adamantine actually, a legendary rock or mineral to which many properties were attributed, formerly associated with diamond or lodestone. The idea is really hard, really firm. So if you're adamant, people would say, I am adamant I'm right. Right, so adamant.
Like a biased person?
No. Or adamantine. No, a bias says you have got a, it's really hard to define it if I actually saying a word. Bias is a slight inclination for one thing. Okay, so I'm going to hire a new person on my team. This is slightly false, but it illustrates the point. Are you going to hire a man or a woman, Alan? Oh, that's I'm talking to a man. Man asking that question. Oh, I'm going to hire a man because I'm biased against women. Like no one would ever say that, right? But you get my point, right? I'm going to hire a man because I'm biased against women. Right, so I'm biased against them. So in other words, or I'm biased towards women. I want to hire, for example, this guy. I don't know if you get American news in Iran. Do you get American news? Do you know about Andrew Cuomo and the trouble he's in? Do you know that? Do you know about that?
Yes.
Yeah. So he is the foremost Democratic senator in America, right? He's the most senior. He comes from a family. His father, Mario Cuomo, was a governor. He's been a governor. He showed a lot of leadership, against Trump through the whole pandemic thing. But he's been accused by, it's either 11 or 19. It's a fairly big number of women of being not a predator, but he has been inappropriate behavior, right, in the office, like touching women, making sexual comments, etc., right? So it's going to go to court case, and basically Biden has said he has to resign. Even though he's in the same team as Biden, right? They're both Democrat. It's looking really bad for him. Now, so somebody might say about him, he's biased towards women, right? But it's not in any kind of nice way. His behavior has been inappropriate, right? Right. So bias is not adamant. Adamant is where you're sticking your heels in, and like the definition is good here, right? The definition is refusing to be persuaded and won't change one's mind, right? That's what adamant means. Similar, unshakable, immovable, inflexible, unwavering, uncompromising. Resolute, there's a great word. Determined, firm, rigid, steadfast, unswerving, stubborn, unrelenting. So we've got adamant, I think. Yeah.
Is it a positive word?
That's a really astute question. And the answer to that is definite maybe, right? Do you know that expression, a definite maybe?
No, I didn't understand.
Obviously, it's a bit of an oxymoron, right? Because maybe is not definite. Maybe is not definite, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but we say that expression a lot in English, so it's a definite maybe. And so, hey, you're gonna come out for dinner tonight, Elham? You could say that's a definite maybe, Elham. Right? So you're not actually committing, but the fact you said definite means maybe. It's like you're in two minds. Yeah.
Yeah. Please write it in the chat.
Yeah. That's definite maybe. I don't think we've done one word of this list yet, right? Define definite maybe. Sometimes you think you might do, but you're not certain. Are you going to Helen's party? It's an indefinite maybe. Right? Now I said to you, is Elham, are you coming out for dinner tonight? And I said it's a definite maybe, right? So it indicates an inclination, right? A desire to do that thing, but it's a maybe. I can't commit because I've got other stuff going on right now, right? And I don't want to commit right now. I can't commit or I don't want to commit. But the fact I'm saying it's a definite maybe is I quite like to actually. Okay.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one to know, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've done adamant on the way through there because I spewed out that word. We got there from eat humble pie. Because it was contrasting being adamant with then being proved wrong, right? Because if you're adamant, you think you're right, you know you're right, in your own mind you're right. There's no question you can be wrong. But then if you are proven wrong, then it's a big come down, and so you have to eat humble pie. And we got there from humble and humility, which are the same word, right? So humility would be the noun. The qualities of having a modest or low view of one's importance. And look over here, like pride and humility. See how they're opposing each other here? So like the pride says, I'm wonderful, I'm fantastic, you know, I'm just the best thing, right? Where humility is the exact opposite of that, is not putting yourself forward, not being quite self-effacing. There's a really good expression. Self-effacing. And that's a good way to describe somebody. And that is a very beautiful attribute, right? People universally love people that are self-effacing. Not self-affecting, self-effacing. Not claiming attention to themselves, retiring and modest.
It means selfish, teacher. It's synonym of selfish.
No, no,
No.
no, it's the opposite of that. So selfish, no. Well, what, no, it's not really. See, what selfish means is you're trying to look after yourself. You're not caring about other people.
Okay.
So if we were out for dinner and there was some food on the table that we were going to share, a selfish person would just dive in and just take all the stuff off the table and put it in their plate. That's being selfish.
Okay.
They're looking after themselves. You see?
Okay.
Where self-effacing means not drawing attention to oneself. Like, so if I was talking to you, Mona, and I'm talking about Mona, I'm talking about she's great, she's fantastic, blah, 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 blah. But what you do is you change the topic because you don't want to talk about Mona. You want to talk about anything except Mona because you're self-effacing. So you change the topic to talk about, how's your granddaughter doing, right? See, you subtly change the conversation so it's not about Mona. Whereas other people would turn the conversation around so it is about them. Do you know what I was doing this morning? I want to talk about me, right? So in general, most balanced people in our culture, don't know what it's like in Iran, but in our culture, people do not like people that want to talk about themselves all the time. We see that as vanity. Vanity. Right? So vanity, vain, right? Vanity. To talk about yourself all the time. Now, you can't be a normal human being without referring to yourself at some point, right? But the thing is a self-effacing person would try and avoid that. Just try to avoid it, right? Another example would be a football team does really well. One guy scores 3 goals, right? He's the hero. He's the man of the match. He's fantastic. So afterwards, the commentator comes up to him with a microphone, shoves it under his mouth and says, hey, you did fantastic. You're a man of the match, blah, 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 blah. And then what the protagonist, that's a good word, protagonist, you know that word, protagonist?
No.
Protagonist is the main actor, right? The main person. The protagonist, the guy who's getting interviewed, says, did you see that save the goalie made? And did you see that fantastic pass that George did? Now, what's he doing? He is changing the topic of conversation away from his 3 goals because he is self-effacing. And because he's self-effacing, he's consequently humble. Whereas the pride person says, yeah, I did fantastic. I really did. I was brilliant. Don't you think? You know, like boxers seem to be like that. There's something, you know, weird in their brain where boxers love themselves, right? I don't know what it is, but they all seem to think that they're the best thing. Like Muhammad Ali, who was famous, you know, what was it? He floated like a butterfly and danced like a bee or something. And he said, I'm the greatest. That was his expression. I'm the greatest. Nobody can beat me. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. Right? So he was the exact opposite of self-effacing.
Okay.
So then we got there from humility and being humble.
So humble and self-efface is a positive characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I told before, being down to earth is a negative one.
No, it's not a negative at all. Down to earth is absolutely a very positive thing. So what down to earth means is somebody who doesn't have, we also say grounded as well. Grounded is a very similar thing, right? No illusions or pretensions. practical and realistic. A down-to-earth view of marriage, right? So in other words, down-to-earth means not somebody who has grand ideas about something, right? Like the opposite of being down to earth, I don't know what that is actually. We would say pretentious probably. Let's look that up. Opposite of down to earth. Somebody else has asked that question. Dreamy or idealistic?
I see.
Yeah. Let's look at some of these other things. Not having or showing any feelings of superiority, self-assertiveness, or showiness. That's a big one. Not showy. Yeah. Not showy. Demure, humble, lowly, meek, modest, unassuming, unpretentious. So to get back to the root of the question you asked me is this a negative thing or positive? No, this is a very positive thing. If somebody is down to earth, like let's write it in so it's captured here, right? Down to down to earth. Right. We would also say grounded. Let's look up that word, grounded. Okay, so physically it means resting on the shore or bottom of the body of the water. Okay, so that's not getting the definition I want there, and that's probably because the Americans don't say that because they're stupid. There you go. That's the definition I wanted. Well balanced and sensible. For someone so young, Chris is extremely grounded. Yeah. And the other expression we say to mean a very similar thing is to find head screwed on. Definition of having one's head screwed on, to think or act in a smart and sensible way. She's young, but it's clear she has her head screwed on right now. Screwed on right now. So to having your head screwed on, imagine if you were like, like a doll, right? And you screwed the head on, right? Your head's on right? It's not this way, up or down. It's on right? So that's just a metaphor for saying sensible. And it's often applied to a young person who is particularly mature for their years. So you wouldn't typically say it of an older person. You might do, but you wouldn't typically. But you would typically use it of a younger person who's quite mature.
Did you say a person that is mature or isn't mature?
Is mature.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I think we've done one word. Yay! Yay! We all understand humble now, yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Mona, my dear, you are a very humble person, very humble lady.
Thank you.
That's a genuine compliment. Brave, okay. Possessing or displaying courage. So there was a famous Scottish guy. Excuse me. And he's called William Wallace. And there's a film about him starring Mel Gibson called Braveheart. Have you ever seen that film?
Yes.
Braveheart. Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
It's a good film, right? It's good. Mel Gibson didn't look anything like William Wallace because he's not a very tall guy, Mel Gibson. William Wallace was much younger as well. He was in his 20s and he was a really tall guy. And he was just a tremendous leader. And he rounded up the Scots and fought the English. And back when the English and the Scots were even more at enmity than they are now. And anyway, he was brave, right? He was a brave guy. So basically, bravery is someone who displays courage. So like if you fought a lion, if you're prepared to fight a lion, you would be brave, right? So there's quite a good expression that comes into my mind here, a really good word called lionise. That'll be a new word for both of you. I know it. So I'll just tell you about this wee word. It's a wee bonus point. Lionise. Give a lot of public attention and approval to someone. Treat as a celebrity. Modern sportsmen are lionized and feted. Now you won't know feted either, right? But let me use it as an example. I gave a speech and it was well received. And when I came down from the platform, I was lionized, right? And what that means is people were coming up to me and slapping me in the back and saying, fantastic, brilliant, wonderful speech. I was lionized, right? So the public attention and approval and approbation, there's a really, really good word, approbation was really strong. Approbation, approval or praise. So my personality type is one that I like to give praise when praise is due, but not if it's not due. So if I say you did well, I really mean it. If you did bad, I just wouldn't say. I wouldn't say you did poor there. I just I'm thinking of there's a really good expression here, better part of valor. I think it's discretion. Caution is preferable to rash bravery, said Falstaff. Okay. That's an interesting one. That's from Shakespeare. And his expression is looking for here. Discretion is the better part of valor, right? This is a good expression to learn and use. Said when you believe it is wise to be careful and avoid unnecessary risks. So, Elham, are you going to come sea swimming with me? You could say, no way, Jose. Discretion is the better part of valor, right? So if you said, no way, Jose, right? Jose is like that. That's just an expression because it rhymes. We say that. No way, Jose, right? In other words, no way am I going in the sea when it's only 17 degrees, you know? And then you say discretion is the better part of valor. So in other words, being sensible, like, you know, valor is the idea of showing bravery. We're talking about bravery earlier. And so people talk about brave soldiers. Valor, the word valor on its own has the idea of bravery. Let me just look that word up. Valor, courage, okay, great courage. You know, he displayed great valor. Mona's reaction demonstrated tremendous valor in that she was prepared to speak up for what she believed, even though most people in the audience were against her. Okay, valor. Now, going back to discretion is a better part of valor. Do you know the word discretion? The ability to behave without causing embarrassment or attracting too much attention, especially by keeping information secret. So, Elham tells me something that's quite personal, right? And it's not for public consumption. So, in doing that, she would expect me to be discreet. Or to demonstrate discretion. I would not embarrass her by sharing that information with another soul unless she allowed me to, or or it became public information. If it became public information. Hello, Anjali. Thanks for joining the club. I assume that's you, the little dot on the screen there. There's no name there, so I assume that's you, Anjali, is it? Who is the other person who's just joined? Hello.
Hello, sir. This is Shweta here.
Hi, Shweta. How are you doing?
Yes, sir, I'm doing well.
I was using your name in vain earlier. I was saying Shweta's left me. I haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. Good to hear from you. Okay, I think Anjali's joining as well, which is the reason I thought that was you. So nice to see you.
Yeah, I had already text message to her. So
okay. Yeah, she's going to join. Okay, so we're just in the middle of the flow here. So I'm just going to carry on, Shweta. Okay, you can catch up. So discretion is this idea of being careful about your behavior with respect to somebody else, not to embarrass them or give away confidences. There's a really good word related to this called confidant. Have you heard of that word? Confidant. It's like confident, but it's got an E on the end. Is this a new word for everybody? I think it might be.
Like the person that we can say our secrets.
Yes, exactly. Now, I don't know why I'm not getting an E on the end of that, right? Yeah, so we definitely put an E on the end of it. Right? Why hasn't it got an E? A close confidant. I thought it had an E. Oh, female, also confidant. That's so interesting. Well, you learn something every day. Every day's a school day. Female, also confidant. So
Is there any difference in the pronunciation of these two?
No, I've only ever heard it pronounced confidant, right?
Confidant.
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 Confidant. I don't like the way he pronounces it. My way of pronouncing it is confidant. Slightly nasally, like the French. Confidant. Confidant. I know there's no difference. But what I did not know was there's a difference. So it looks like I would be your confidant and you would be my confidant with an E. See that? But I didn't know that before now. I didn't know that. Wow. My whole life, I have pronounced it, I've spelt it with an E, no matter, it's not used terribly often, but yes, a confidant is somebody you would tell your secrets to and entirely trust them that they will never share those secrets. That's what a confidant is. Another expression we use a bit like that is a bosom pal, or bosom friend, bosom buddy, bosom pal. There it is, bosom pal. See that? A friend you like a lot and have a very close relationship with. Yeah? That's a slightly more informal way of saying the same thing. Okay, is that clear? So let's write that down as bosom friend, bosom pal. We would say that, a bosom pal. He's a bosom pal of mine. Yeah. And another expression, I think I've done it in the past. I'm sure I've done this with you guys. Thick as thieves. Come across that one? Thick as thieves. Yes, no?
Yeah, we have done it. We have done it, but I don't remember them.
Okay, good. That's good. Well, you will. This is by repeat is how you learn, right? So, thick as thieves, to be very close friends and share secrets. There you go. So I could say, Anjali and Shweta are thick as thieves, right? They you see, by laughing, she gave away the truth that I was right. You see, they're thick as thieves. They talk. So they're thick as thieves. So to say somebody, by the way, is thick is to say that they're stupid. They think, right? To say somebody is thick, right? Right. So it can also mean thick as in like a thick rope, having a large distance between two sides, right? It's thick, right? But if we say a person is thick, we mean that they're stupid, okay? But if you say two people collectively are thick as thieves, that's not a comment about their intelligence at all. It's a comment about the fact that they're very close. Yeah. Buddies, really good buddies, bosom pals. How we got there from bravery, I don't know, but anyway.
Sir, which word you have used for stupid or some like you said, thick or
Thick.
thieves?
Thick.
Okay, thick.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
To say someone is thick means stupid. Okay, so let's look that one up, right? So if we say person is thick, like it doesn't mean they're fat. You might think, well, it means they're fat, right? No. If you describe someone as thick, you think they're stupid, right? This is British, informal, and it's disapproval, it's negative. It's obviously not, the Americans don't say it, right? I don't know what the Americans would say. Americans have a whole bunch of weird words, right? How could she have been so thick? In other words, how could she have been so stupid, right? Synonyms: stupid, dull, dense, insensitive. You can see that this word has a lot of colors and a lot of definitions. And there's a lot of expressions, thick and fast. Thick and fast means something's happening really quickly. Right? We could have a lesson just on thick. Right? If things happen thick and fast, they happen very quickly in large numbers. The rumors have been coming thick and fast. That's a classic expression. Thick and fast. So in other words, it's like, yeah, it's really happening. Here's examples. The writing has been sharp and the laughs have been coming thick and fast. But the surprises come thick and fast. Still, better late than never, and the big games are coming thick and fast. The chances came thick and fast and early. Runners came thick and fast at every conceivable angle and offloaded adventurously. Okay, so we've learned something else here, right? I'll write this in here. Thick and fast, right? Very common expression. But you'll notice at the end here, there was another one I wanted to just point out, the thick and thin. That's a very common expression. If you'll do something through thick and thin, you'll do it although the conditions or circumstances are very bad. She'd stuck by Bob through thick and thin. I will go on loving James through thick and thin, no matter what happens. So that is another common expression, not thick and fast, but thick and thin. Now, obviously, thick.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, we use throw thick and thin or thick and thin only.
Good question. We always say through thick and thin in that expression, always.
Okay, sir. And what it means?
It means that you'll do something no matter what the circumstances.
Okay.
So I could say Shweta will join the class on a Thursday at 4 p.m. through thick and thin. It means she's always going to be there. So sometimes it might not suit, but she will still be there no matter what. So it's an expression of reliability and consistency.
Is it like the expression rain or shine?
Yes, very similar. However, rain or shine is used in a more general sense than through thick and thin. Thick and thin is a commentary about somebody's personality type, personality trait. Come rain or shine has got to do with consistency in a more general sense. So, for example, that shop, you know, will always be open 7 days a week, rain or shine. The shop is going to be open. So it's not a comment about somebody's personality. It's just saying that no matter what the external conditions, that thing is going to happen. Frances took her daughter through walking every day, rain or shine. That's a classic example there. So it's got to do with consistency, whereas through thick and thin is more about a relationship, right? So those two expressions, you know, are not a million miles from each other, but they don't mean exactly the same thing. There's nuances of difference between them that are not insignificant. Now, when I say not insignificant, I'm using two negatives there. That's a double negative. You see that? I could have said that are significant and it would have meant the same thing. So why didn't I say significant? I said the differences are, I could have said the differences are significant. But instead of that, I deliberately used a double negative to say they're not insignificant. And what that means is not insignificant does not mean significant. Not insignificant means the opposite of insignificant. I'll go through this more slowly if I need to, right? To say something is insignificant is saying that it's small, it's not important. It's not important. It's not measurable. It's insignificant. But if I say something is not insignificant, I'm turning that on its head, and I'm saying that it has some impact, but the impact is not necessarily large, but it can't be ignored.
Is it like you're emphasizing on the effect?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a really good expression to know, right? Because it does come up a lot. Look at what this dictionary says. Enough to be worthy of attention or consideration. Now, they've gone on to say quite large or significant. I disagree with that. I'm sorry. There is a not insignificant number of voters who feel they've been totally neglected over the past few years. Now, why didn't they say a significant number of voters? Well, one reason is if you use a double negative, it's got more force than a positive statement, right? Two negatives make a positive, right? We all know that, right? Two negatives in English, two negatives make a positive. Not so in Greek, by the way. In Greek, two negatives make a stronger negative, right? But in English, two negatives make a positive, like in physics, right? And so to say not insignificant is basically to say significant, but it's not necessarily a statement about the scale of that significance. It just means it's not insignificant. So there was a number of voters that feel totally neglected. But was it the majority? No, you've no idea. But the point is, it's measurable. It's measurable. Measurable is a good word, and another word that means the same thing is empirical. So scientists love the word empirical, right? Because if you can't measure it, then you can't do anything with it, right? So they want to measure everything. Based on, concerned with, or verifiable by observation or experience rather than theory or pure logic. So can you prove it? Have you got an experiment that demonstrates that? Excuse me. Excuse me. That's a good word to know, empirical.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, so courageous, we'll move on now, okay? We're going to move on, okay?
Sir, what is the meaning of empirical?
Measurable,
Okay, measurable.
yeah. Based on, concerning, verified by observation and or experience rather than theory or pure logic. It doesn't actually say measurable there, but measurable is the best way to think about it, right? It's not, the point is, it's not just theoretical. Like I could say, light moves very fast, right? Okay. How fast does it go? 186,000 miles a second. Oh, a number. So you can measure it there. You can measure the speed of light. Yes, it's been measured a number of times in various experiments. And people talk about this, see this expression here, empirical evidence. That is evidence that you can actually quantify it. That's another good word, quantify. Quantify. So you can put a number on it, right? To quantify something. Coming from obviously the idea of quantity, which is amount of something. And people talk about quantitative, quantitative, hard to spell, versus qualitative. Okay, and use that as an expression, right? So let's put that in. Quantitative research versus qualitative research. What's the difference between qualitative and quantitative? Quantitative data is information about quantities and therefore numbers, and qualitative data is descriptive and regards phenomenon which we observe but not measured, not empirical, such as language. So I could say, this car, A, is better than this car, B. Oh, really? Well, is that a quantitative statement or a qualitative statement? Oh, I never thought about that. What do you mean, Alan? Well, if it's a quantitative statement that this car A is better than B, you would have some numbers to back that up. It's faster to 60, or it's faster to stop, or its top speed is higher. Those would be quantitative numbers. But if you say A is better than B qualitatively, it's not a statement about numbers, it's a statement about the quality of it, right? So it's like more comfortable, it's quieter, it looks nicer. Aesthetically, that would be qualitative, coming from the word quality rather than quantitative, which comes from the word quantity. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're covering a lot of ground today, even though we haven't done many words in this list, but this is a good list. I will actually put this list here in the chat so we get it preserved. Okay, because we'll come back to this another day. I like this list, and thanks for the suggestion from Elhan. So brave and courageous are similar, right? You can see the definition. One is defining that possessing or displaying courage. That's what bravery is. Courageous, able to face and deal with danger or fear without flinching. Without flinching is a good thing as well. Like flinching is the idea of shaking. And if you say you don't flinch, it's a demonstration of tremendous bravery, but because you're unmoved, right? Making a quick, nervous movement as an instinctive reaction to fear, pain, or surprise. He gave a flinching sideways glance as if he were about to be reprimanded, right? So he's frightened. And so we not only say flinching, but we say unflinching, right? We would say unflinching as often, if not more. Not showing fear or hesitation in the face of danger, right? Brave as a lion. We would say brave as a lion, right? Unflinching, brave as a lion, because a lion is a very brave, it's known to be a brave animal. It doesn't turn away for it. It even says this in the Bible, right? The lion doesn't turn away for anything. Right? It's a king among beasts.
Sir, what is the meaning of glance? Glance?
Glance.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so glance is a quick look. Okay, a quick look. I glanced at Shweta because she turned the camera on for 5 seconds. I glanced at her. Take a brief and hurried look. Ginny glanced at her watch. Alan glanced at his watch. See, I glanced at it. A brief or hurried look. I stole a glance at John. Glance. A quick look. Okay? Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right, so we've done humble, brave, courageous. So now let's go to serious. Serious. And I'm lowering my voice without thinking about it, right? Because people do that when a situation is serious. And the other word that's very similar to serious is grave. Grave. In fact, the Spanish word for serious is grabby, which means grave, right? It's spelled like grave, but they pronounce it grabby. Right, serious, demanding or characterized by careful consideration or application. Marriage is a serious matter, right? You want to marry the right person. So whether you're from the Western culture and you choose your partner, or whether you're from the Eastern countries like India where your parents choose your partner, I don't know what happens in Iran, no clue. You'll need to educate me on that one. But no matter what, it's a serious matter because you're going to be married to that person most likely for the rest of your life, and you may have a family with that person, children. So marriage in any culture is a serious matter, right? not to be trifled with. Acting or speaking sincerely and in earnest, rather than a joking and half-hearted manner. So Alan was having a very serious talk with Shweta because we were talking about her education options, and it was a serious discussion. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Serious. And a similar word I mentioned was grave, right? Okay, so obviously there's a grave, this kind of a grave, which is not what I wanted, which is where you bury the dead in the ground. Now you don't do that in India. You that's not the definition I meant. In India, you don't do this. You use funeral pyres, right? But in the West, we bury dead in the ground, right? So that's what a grave is, right? A grave. But we need to look this one up in a dictionary. I'm getting to like this Collins dictionary, actually. So that was the first definition, right? It's a place where a dead person is buried, right? They used to visit her grave twice a year, okay? That's clear. But this is the definition I was looking for, the adjective. A grave event or situation is very serious. Remember I said another word for serious is grave, right? Important or worrying. He said the situation in his country is very grave. I have grave doubts that the documents tell the whole history. To say grave doubts is a very, very common expression in English. They had gravely impaired the credibility of the government. So you could say seriously impaired, it would mean the same thing. So grave doubts a grave doubt is defined as a judge's state of mind when the matter is so evenly balanced that he feels himself in virtual equipoise. This is a word I've never heard in my life, equipoise. I know what it means, obviously, but as to the harmlessness of the error. Well, that's a legal definition, so Mona will like that. That's interesting. So I didn't know it came from law. Until now, I didn't know that. But all of the definitions of grave doubt seem to point to law. Every day's a school day. A grave person is quiet and serious in their appearance or behavior, mostly in appearance rather than dress. my uncle is ill. It's grave. It means it's serious, right? Well, here, this is a very common expression as well. Turning in his grave. Darwin must be turning in his grave at the thought of what is being perpetrated in his name. So turning in his grave, have you ever heard that expression, turning in your grave? Yes, no?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. I could understand why you don't have this in India, because you don't have people in graves, right? But in the West, when somebody's dead, they're in the ground, right? Their body is, right? Until it deteriorates. And obviously, that's them dead, right? Now, but if you imagine, it's not a million miles away from being in a bed, right? And if you're sleeping, you know, when you sleep, you turn over, right? So you might be facing that way, and then you face that way, and then you might face that way, and then you might face that way. You might lie on your back, right? So people turn in bed as an involuntary notion. So we have imagineered this thought that somebody would turn in their grave, right? In the sense that they're uncomfortable, because if your sleep is disturbed, you might turn over in your bed, right? Because you're struggling to sleep, so you turn over the other way to try and get some sleep. Everybody following me? Now, if we say usually about somebody famous, right? Oh, Darwin must be turning in his grave. What that's saying is it's an appealing to authority, and it's saying that he would be disapproving, and so he'll be turning in his grave. And it's only ever spoken about somebody who's dead, obviously. So I could say, about some situation in the family, my grandmother will be turning in her grave, right? As if to say, even though she's dead, she might be cognizant of what's going on and be very unhappy. Let me give an example, right? So we were in some dire straits. There's another expression you won't know. I realize I'm saying it as I'm saying it. Dire straits. Dire straits means financial difficulties. And it also was a pop group. Yeah, I did mean dire straits. In a very bad or difficult situation, with its best player out of the game, the team found itself in dire straits. Okay, so it's obviously more generalized than just financial difficulties, but it often means financial difficulties, right? But obviously here it could be used in sport. In dire straits, in a very bad situation, it's difficult to fix. The kids are in dire straits and the schools are doing nothing to help them. The company's closure has left many small business owners in desperate financial straits. So interestingly, it didn't use dire there, but that's what it's meaning. People come up with the best ideas when they are in dire straits. The cuts have been imposed by central government because the economy is in dire straits. the industry in America is in dire straits. The integrity of international sport is in dire straits, right? Hi, Anjali. Good to see you.
Hi. I'm so sorry. I got busy with a work call. I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah. So we would say Anjali got waylaid. Right? Waylaid. Waylaid means
Waylaid. Okay.
yeah, waylaid.
Did I say that?
You did
Did
it.
I say that
No,
correctly?
you waylaid, right? I'll write it down here. That's way. Oops, spell it right. Did you mean waylaid one word? Okay. Well, this definition here is not how we use it mostly. To lie in wait for an attack, right? You didn't do that. To wait and intercept unexpectedly. I can, yeah. So I think that's how the way we say it is, if you got waylaid, you were on your way, but you got interrupted in your journey. And so you couldn't get there on time. So we would say you were waylaid, and that's what we would mean. But we say that so often, that's what we mean. We don't actually talk about lying in wait and attacking or intercepting. You know, when we say waylay and waylaid in particular, we mean this word here. Mr. Schrader's apologies. He was wanting to meet you personally, but he was waylaid by the mayor's wife before he could get here. I'm not going to get waylaid by clothes shops, i.e. held up. And don't get waylaid in the dated theory that unsuccessful teams come in cycles. As they were returning home, they were waylaid by 3 highwaymen. Stick with it and don't be waylaid by other people's advice. The square dancers moved hesitantly, waylaid by giggles and general uncertainty. A technology guru giving a talk gets waylaid by his ringing mobile. So Anjali, you were waylaid. You didn't get here in time for some reason unknown, but that's what I said. You got waylaid. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I could have was whatever I was saying, was that correct? Or like I can use this? Is this better or that was correct?
You could have said to me, I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier, Alan. I got waylaid.
Okay.
That would be the right way to express it. I'm sorry. Now, so in doing that, you're just telling me, you know, something, but you're not giving me the detail. I don't need to know the detail, and I'm not asking for the detail. In general, we don't do that unless it's a person of authority. Like if it was a real teacher in a real school situation, the teacher would have the authority to say, well, why are you late then, Anjali? You see? They would have the authority to do that. Or a parent might have that authority with a child and say, you should have been home at 10 o'clock. Why are you home at midnight?
So if someone does not want to reveal the reason behind,
yeah, they would say,
behind
I got waylaid. I got waylaid.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we've done grave. So we've done humble, brave, courageous, and serious, and a whole bunch of bonus words along the way. So resourceful. This is a good word to describe a personality. And what we're doing tonight you'll need to catch up, Anjali, on the recording, is we're looking at words that describe personality. And so if somebody is described as resourceful, that's a positive thing. And that's a statement about someone who can make things happen, right? They don't say, I can't. They never say I can't. Right? They're a can-do kind of person. By the way, that's another very positive statement about somebody, is can-do, right? I will allow myself to get waylaid describing this to you, because this is a very helpful, not candor. Candor is a word that we will do, right? But can do. Can do.
Can do.
Having or showing a determination or willingness to take action and achieve results. I like this can-do attitude. Right? Sometimes people have described me like that in the past, and I have taken it as a compliment, strong compliment. Right? Right? If somebody says, if I was to say Anjali is a real can-do girl, what I'm saying is she can make things happen, right? She just makes it happen, right? She figures out what needs to get done and who needs to make it happen, and she gets it done. Okay?
Yeah, it's a self-explanatory term, actually.
Repeat.
It's a self-explanatory term, right?
Yes. Now we would pronounce that slightly differently. We would say self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. Okay.
Thank you. The word you said was right, but we would just pronounce it slightly different. So self-explanatory.
And the word, that word, I used to say, pronounce that word resourceful. I never said that whatever you were saying.
Yeah, resourceful.
I don't say that.
Yeah. So
resource.
Yeah. So you know what a resource is? Yeah, a resource.
So both are the different things, right? Resource and resource.
Yes. So resource, right? A resource is something that you can use. So
yeah.
Right. So a company has great resources, and that means that it's got great capability. It could be financial resources. It's got loads of money. It could be skills. It could be property. It could be intellectual property. It could be the leadership. It could be reputation. The company has great resources. I could describe an individual as having great resources, you know, as well. They're intelligent. They've got huge energy, you know. So I could describe a person also as having resources. But if I describe a person as resourceful, it's like, you know, they have ways and means of getting stuff done. They never make an excuse. That's a very high compliment to say somebody is resourceful. It's a good way of describing somebody, a certain type of person. So Alan was out of work and he had no job, but he was really resourceful and he figured out a way to do something temporary till he find another job. He was resourceful. And in my way of describing resourceful, I said we could describe something like that as having can do. Right? He is can do, or he or she can do, right? We just put those two words. They can and they can do. They can and they do, right? They don't, like we are taught, we teach children to say, you can never say can't. You should never say can't. I cannot. You should always say can. I can do it. I can do it. Yeah. And there's another expression that's in the same ballpark I want to teach you called a safe pair of hands. So let's look this up, right? A safe pair of hands. British, someone who can be trusted with responsibility or a job. The next leader of the party should be a safe pair of hands. So being described as a safe pair of hands is also a high compliment. So next week, I can't make the class, I'm sorry, but we'll have the class and I will delegate running the class to one of the team. I'm going to delegate it to Elham. Oh, why are you going to get her to do it? Well, she's a safe pair of hands. What do I mean? I mean, I can trust her to do it and to do a good job. So you see how we got there from can do. Yeah? Can do. So can do is kind of informal, but it's used a lot to describe people. Okay. So we've done resourceful. Does everybody understand completely what resourceful means?
Yes, sir, but how we can use it? Like, see is pair of hands like this, or
Yeah, okay. So how we would use a safe pair of hands is well, the example that we read a moment ago was we need a new leader of the party. It's going to go to John Smith because he's a safe pair of hands, meaning he's resourceful, he can be trusted, and he's not the fate of the party is going to be do well with him. People trust him. Like, so if I ask the question, I could also ask the question and say, is Modi a safe pair of hands to lead the great country of India? You don't have to answer me. I'm just posing it as a hypothetical question, right? And you could say yes or no. No matter what you say, let's say you said, yes, I think he is. And I could say to you, but this guy started off selling tea. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a university lecturer.
And the answer would definitely be no.
We are allowed to have fun like this in this class. This is good. Yeah. I from the little I know, I think I agree with you there. But who am I to comment, right? Because I don't live there and I don't read the Delhi Times. But I think you're right. Now, that was a very
there are actually.
That was a very
No,
direct
actually,
comment from a future diplomat.
Yeah, but now I'm not in a dangerous position.
I know. And
comment.
when you're a diplomat, you won't be allowed to say that. You'll have to say, well, some people would say that and some people would not.
Yeah.
And you would not declare your hand, right? So
exactly.
So have we got a safe pair of hands, Shweta? Are you comfortable?
yes, sir.
Okay. Right, we'll go for about 20 more minutes, right? We'll stop at 6 o'clock my time, right? So on the top of the hour. At the top of the hour is a good expression. Do you all know that? Top of the hour? It just means at o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, at the top of the hour, right? When we get to 12 o'clock or whatever hour it's coming up to, at the top of the hour, we're gonna quit. At the top of the hour. Yeah.
Can you please explain it again? I did not get it.
Yeah, right. So I'm trying to think of, do I have a clock handy? I don't actually have an old-fashioned clock, right? But let's just let's pull one up on the web. That's probably the easiest way, you know. Analog clock. There you go. Now, this one's not very helpful because it doesn't have any hands on it. But this one here is at 12 o'clock. You see that?
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
this hand here, the minute hand, it's currently 26 minutes past 2. Okay. Now, if this was the current time, let's just imagine this, and somebody said, when are you going to finish the class, Alan? I'll say, I'm going to finish at the top of the hour. I could either say, I'm going to finish at 3 p.m. in about 34 minutes time precisely. Or I could say, I'm going to finish at the top of the hour, which means when the minute hand is at the top of the hour, is at 12. And that
Okay.
expression, the top of the hour, I can use in any culture or anywhere, but it's especially helpful in a situation like we're in, because we're all in different time zones. So if I say to you, I'm going to finish at 6 o'clock, you think, well, what does that mean? Because it's like 9 o'clock, coming up to 9 o'clock where I am, or 10 o'clock in the evening, right? Or 10:30 if you're in India, because you're 4.5 hours, right? You've got this weird 30 minutes stuck in there for some political reason. So you're not in the same time zone as Pakistan, right? So the top of the hour means at when the minute hand reaches 12, at the top of the hour. Got it?
Yes,
So
sir.
will there
And
be also? Yeah, Shweta, you go on.
sir, this will be all. This phrase we can say is useful when only the person is at the same place, right?
No, it also works in different time zones as well, except for the situation where, like, you've got India where it's 4.5 hours. You're 4.5 hours ahead of me. It doesn't really work there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you and Anjali were having a confab.
What you said, sir?
Confab, yeah, I said confab. I realized I used the word there. You're having a confab. We'll come back to what a confab is, right? You're having a conversation and you're going to say, Anjali, are you free? She could say, yeah, I'm free until the top of the hour. So depending on the time, you look at your watch and you say, oh, it's 20, like this one, it's 20 past 8. Okay, she's got 40 minutes free. We can chat away.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we always use this phrase when we make a statement which is about to happen somewhere in near future?
Yeah. So right, there's a good there's a famous film called Red October. Anybody heard of that? The Hunt for Red October. Anybody seen that? Okay. So I normally recommend you read books rather than watch films, right? Normally, but this is a good film, right? If you just want to sort of chill. And it stars Sean Connery, who speaks with a nice Edinburgh accent. And you know who Sean Connery is, right? Everybody knows him because he was James Bond, right?
Yeah.
And he he acts a Russian naval submarine officer who decides he is going to steal one of the Russian submarines and sail it across to America. That's the plot, okay? That's the plot. It's a very, very fun movie. Now, one of the lines in it is Red October.
Full ahead flank. Full ahead flank, guys. Torpedo impact now, 40 seconds. 35 seconds.
Are you hearing that? Not? Are you hearing that? Yes or no?
Yeah.
You are hearing it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the idea is they're getting hunted by other submarines. And what they try and do is they try and turn the submarine away from the torpedoes, right? And so there's quite a famous statement made by this guy in the movie that says, at the top of the hour, if it's before the hour, he always turns left. And if it's after the hour, he always turns right, right? It's a bit of a, it's not actually a true statement, but he says it in order to try and impress the captain of the ship. And it turns out he was right. It turns out he was right, okay? So he gains confidence. But afterwards, he got asked about it, and they said, why, how did you know he was going to do that? And he said, I didn't, I guessed. He said, I had a 50-50 chance of being right. I took a gamble. You need to see the movie. It's very good. It's very tense.
Right. It is interesting.
It is interesting. And it's great characters. This guy here is a great actor, Sam. You got him, you got this guy, Alec Baldwin. They're brilliant actors, all of them. Brilliant actors. It's very tense. I love it. I love it. I've watched it several times, actually. And the reason I think you might find it interesting is this guy here is Australian. You have got Sean Connery is a Scot, and you've got Baldwin, who's an American. So you've got different kinds of English interplayed, and they're all trying to put on a Russian accent as well, which is kind of fun, right? So it's kind of fun. So I don't want to waste everybody's time just now.
So we use this statement for the future thing. only.
Yeah, so the point is that it's, yeah, at the top of the hour just says at o'clock, right? At o'clock.
For example, we can say that the class has started at sharp 8, but we cannot, but that is happening in past. So we cannot use the term top of the hour in that sentence.
You really could. It's a very generalized term, right? It's just saying at o'clock, but we don't care if it's 1 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
No, but in past statement, how can you use that?
All right. If you said to me, when did the class start? I could say it started at the top of the hour. But in general, you would say it about the top of the hour that's coming, most often.
Okay.
Listen, we're wasting too much time on really not a very important expression. I just did it as a by the way. Right? I will make a note to try and say this a few times in the next few classes, as I always try to do. I'll reinforce the word, right? What it means. at the top of the hour. You can also look it up online, right? Define top of the hour. At the beginning of the hour, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. The program is scheduled to start at the top of the hour. There you go, right? What I've been trying to communicate. Okay. Right, coming back to our list.
Yeah.
Stubborn.
Sir, confab is left.
Confab.
Mhm.
Thank you, Shweta, for keeping me honest. Define confab. An informal private conversation or discussion. Now remember, I said Anjali and Shweta were having a confab in the corner. So what were you doing? You were having an informal discussion. You were just chatting. But you'll notice this word here, it's private. It's private. And this is like a word that I've taught you in the past, which I will just touch on. A tête-à-tête, yeah, which is a French expression sucked into English. Loan word is the official term. Again, a private conversation between two people.
Yes, sir. We already discussed this phrase.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. A tête-à-tête. But the nuance, the difference between these two things is Anjali and Shweta are having a confab, right? They're having a private conversation between them, but who knows and who cares what they're talking about, right? No one knows and no one cares, right? But if Anjali and Shweta are having a tête-à-tête, they're definitely talking about something really private. It looks quite interesting. I'd like to know what they're talking about. See?
Yeah, got it.
They're taking extra steps to make sure nobody can hear them, right? Because they're like keeping their heads away from everybody and they're lowering their voice. They're talking about something. They're scheming. Or they're planning, they're plotting.
Yeah, if the person is curious in the conversation, then we'll use the term tête-à-tête, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would say so. I would say so. Now, it could be romantic, right?
Sir,
It could be. So Susan and Tim were having quite a tête-à-tête. Did you notice that? Right? So there's an insinuation there. So it could be that, but it doesn't have to be. And it's often not. It's just the word is private. It's a private conversation. The confab is informal. The tête-à-tête is more serious. It's really quite serious, right? And they're very, they're not worried about all the party food that's going around. We're at a party, but these two just want to carry this conversation on, and their body language is such that they don't want anybody else to be in the conversation. Because here is their bodies, right? Heads are like that. If we're at a party and we're talking like this, then, these two are chatting, but they're quite happy if Alan comes and says hi. Interrupts. But if the body language is like this, they don't want anybody interrupting. Okay?
yes, sir. So can we say that confab is likely same as chit chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a more fashionable word.
Chit chat is very informal, right? Yeah. The other thing that we say is very like this is shooting the breeze. which you would never in a million years know unless you're told what it means, right? Shoot the breeze. Informal, North American. Got to blame the Yanks for this one, right? Have a casual conversation. So Anjali and Shweta were just shooting the breeze, right? It's not a tete-a-tete. It's the emphasis here is casual, right? It's casual conversation. We've been shooting the breeze for well over an hour now, just chatting. It's not going anywhere. I'm not talking about anything too serious. It's not life and death. It's not illness. It's not family. It's not romance. It's just chat. Chit chat. Okay, so you now have lots of words to describe people having informal conversations, right? And none of them are very interesting apart from tete-a-tete. Oh, we're having a tete-a-tete. Yeah, okay. Oh, we're having a tete-a-tete. Yeah, that's interesting.
How do you know this French term? Do you have any French friends?
It's common in English. Everybody would know this. Everybody would know it. It's said in English. I'm not grabbing a word out of the French dictionary and saying I'm using it.
Okay.
It's a word that the French have had, an expression, right? How this works is, I don't know how this works, but how I think it works is, you get people who are British who know French. And they notice that the French talk about people having tete-a-tetes. And they figure out what it means. And they say, well, that's quite a good expression. We don't have an equivalent in English. And so one day, this person says, do you know what? I saw John and Helen having a tete-a-tete. And the person says, what does that mean? Well, it means like a private conversation. And so somehow, as if by magic, it gets repeated. And lo and behold, it's in the English dictionary. A lone word. English does this a lot. So we have Latin words and Greek words and French words. Not so many Spanish words.
I think it's due to the location also, because in Europe, people speak a
absolutely.
lot of languages.
Absolutely. Okay. So you got lots of words to describe having conversations. All right. Stubborn. We'll make this the last word we do today, okay? Now, I have already, earlier in this class, explained what the opposite of stubborn was. And I said what word? What is the opposite of stubborn? Well, first of all, does everybody understand what stubborn means? What the, it's kind of telling you there. So if you can read, but
it defines my personality.
Yeah, and you would all have known this word already, I imagine, right? You've all heard of the word stubborn, yeah? And you would not want to be described as stubborn, right?
Yes, sir. So stubborn means like that we do always with our parents, that if we want to buy something and then we start doing like, no, we want it, we want to buy this. Like it shows like some rigid personality, like that we
exactly.
wanted this.
An expression, expression that we use a lot in this regard is won't take no for an answer.
I think every parent label their child as stubborn.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Maybe, but well, the thing is many children, especially if they're immature, want. They have lots of wants, and they don't like to answer no. There's very few children that would be, okay, mommy, whatever you say, mommy, right? I want it. Right? It's more, right? It's how, right? Now, so that behavior then can sometimes make it all the way into adulthood, right? So if somebody is stubborn, they won't budge. Now, earlier I used the word adamant. Now, adamant describes somebody in a positive way who is fixed, right? Has got strong, you know, he is adamant, he's right, right? That's a positive thing. But to be described as stubborn is always negative, tenaciously unwilling to yield. And the opposite that I described earlier was meek, to be meek. So meek and humble don't mean the same thing. Humble is a lack of pride, and meek is to not be stubborn. So a meek person, hey, would you do this for me? Yes. A meek person would just say yes, absolutely. Right? Because another expression that I've heard in the past about meekness is, I love this expression, easy to be entreated. You might say approachable. Have you spoken to her? Oh, no, I wouldn't speak to her. Oh, no, I'd be frightened to speak to her. She's too important. She wouldn't want to speak to the likes of me. You mean she's not very approachable? No, not really. But you could have somebody who is in high office, in high position, and still be approachable. You could say they're still very down to earth. To come full circle with where we started this evening. So stubborn ain't good. Having showing a dogged, there's a good expression, love that word, a dogged determination not to change one's attitude or position on something, especially in spite of good arguments or reasons to do so. A stubborn refusal to learn from experience. Difficult to move, remove, or cure. The removal of stubborn screws, right? So like I was trying to get a screw out of the garage door and it wouldn't budge. It was stubborn, right? So describing an inanimate object as stubborn says that it's fixed. Describing a person as that is very negative. Unyielding. Well, Alham, we didn't get very far through that list, but hopefully we did learn some stuff tonight. And I will have another class the weekend that is for the Western crew. And I don't know when it'll be, probably Sunday. I need to hear from EO and Alida as to when that will be, but I will put it on the group chat when it is. And so if any of you guys want to join, you're welcome.
Sir, adamant is the positive compliment for anyone, right? And stubborn is like negative one.
This is a good question, and the answer is no, not always. Stubborn would always be negative. You could use it in a positive way, right? I'll cook up an example that is positive, right? That guy goes for a run 5 or 6 days a week. Somebody else comments, what, does he never take a break? Does he never like have a week off? No, he's kind of stubborn that way. Now you see what I did there? I've used
Yeah,
it in
it's a positive
I've
compliment.
used it in a positive way.
compliment.
I've used it in a complimentary way. But generally, you don't say it in a positive way. Generally, you say it in a negative way. So let's use politicians, right? So there's been many mistakes made in handling of the pandemic, but the Prime Minister refuses to admit any wrongdoing or mishandling. He's kind of stubborn that way. So you see that I've used it in a negative way there, and that's normally how it'd be used. The child, we tried to encourage the child to go to bed at 7 p.m. in the evening because she needs her sleep. But she's really stubborn and she stays up. Okay, so that's stubborn. Now, adamant doesn't mean the same thing, right? But adamant means, so let's think of the root of the word, the etymology of the word, because that helps. Adamant comes from adamant stone. And an adamant stone is a hard stone like diamond. It's really hard. So if you're described as adamant or adamant about something, you're very firm in it. So I could say, I am adamant, I'm right. It's generally used about something that where somebody has a very, let's search for better examples. He became adamant on this point. The doctors had been absolutely adamant that she wasn't going to get better, right? So what that means is the doctors are saying there's no wiggle room at all, right? She's definitely not going to get better, right? John seemed pretty adamant he wasn't in love with her, proclaiming it loudly to anyone who would listen. She was adamant that people should know what they're consuming. So there it means very determined. John seemed pretty adamant he wasn't in love with her, right? Now, that's a slightly unusual expression because pretty means sort of. And to say sort of with adamant, which means definitely, is a little bit like a definite maybe, right? As we talked about earlier, we did definite maybe earlier, didn't we? Did we do definite maybe? Yeah,
Sorry,
we did definite maybe early on. Yeah, so that's a little bit definite maybe there, pretty adamant. So to say pretty adamant actually means quite adamant. That's the sense of that word there. This is probably the best example. He became adamant on this point, right? He absolutely insists he's right? Or the doctors were absolutely adamant that she wasn't going to get better, right? So that's adamant. So adamant doesn't mean stubborn, but it does mean fixed in views. Confidence in being right. Whether you are right or not is not the point, but the person really believes they're in the right.
No, can we say a highly opinionated person or a strongly opinionated person or adamant guy?
That's a really good question, Anjali. And the answer is they're not the same. Because if I said you would be adamant on an issue, on a point, adamant about something, right? Anjali
Yeah.
is adamant that education is important and she's focused on it, right? Now, if I said Anjali is a very opinionated girl, that's not a positive statement I'm making about you, right? I'm saying that,
Yeah,
I'm using that in a negative way. I'm saying that
Yeah.
you have a lot of opinions about things and you like to offer those opinions. Someone who's opinionated not only has opinions, but they want to impose those opinions on others. So it's a very negative trait. So define opinionated. You mean that they have very strong opinions and refuse that they accept that they may be wrong. Sue is the extrovert in the family, opinionated, talkative, and passionate about politics. Right? So strong opinions and imposing those opinions, not strong opinions and happy to like keep them private, definitely wants to share them.
definitely not a humble person, right? He or
No-
she
not-
shows pride in his opinion.
Exactly. Okay, well, that was fun. The 2 hours flew by. I'm glad we
I
remembered
missed
to.
it today.
Yeah, you missed a good bit of it there. Anyway, it's all recorded, so you'll get a copy of the recording.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll maybe talk to some of you at the weekend, and otherwise I'll see you all next week. All right?
You'll be sending the link on the group, right?
I will.
Oh,
Sir, please send the link in WhatsApp.
What, especially for Shweta?
Yes, sir, because my HelloTalk ID is not working right now. I don't know what's wrong with it.
I feel your pain. I lost all my Hello Talk data, every single bit of it.
I think
Yes.
there is some problem with the application.
It's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's absolute rubbish.
Sir, to be meek is same as humble.
Is what the same as humble?
To be meek,
The opposite of stubborn.
stubble or humble.
No.
Stubborn.
The opposite of stubborn.
Okay, okay.
So you can be a stubborn person or a meek person, right? Stubborn is unattractive. Stubborn is they're right, always right, blah, blah, blah. The meek person is somebody who is the exact opposite of that. They would do things for, so this if you ask a stubborn person to help you and do something for you, they typically won't want to do it, right? They're unhelpful. A meek person is helpful and approachable and self-effacing. That's what meek is.
And also they can be easily manipulated.
They can be easily manipulated, did you say?
Yeah.
Manipulate word is not, I think it not sounds good.
So that is not necessarily the case, Anjali, right? I would disagree with that point, right? Because yeah,
the word manipulate is when the word manipulate, we generally use it when we are trying to like we can use the one phrase word for washing brain, like for changing
Brainwashing.
someone's thought, opinion, and some kind of thought.
Yeah.
Then we use only it, and generally it is used as for, we can say, negative way, negatively.
I agree. So it's bad to manipulate person. It's bad to try to manipulate, and it's bad to be manipulated. But that's not the same as meek, right? A meek person can be incredibly strong person, right? But they are helpful. So, for example, right, I have to use a biblical expression here, right? So, in the Bible, Moses is one of the most famous characters in the Bible, probably the most famous character in the Old Testament. Moses was the man who led the children of Israel. That's not children, that's a reference to a nation, out of Egypt through the Red Sea. You've heard of the parting of the Red Sea? And they came through on the Red Sea, walking across the bottom of the sea. Very famous. We read about this in the second book of the Old Testament called Exodus. Now, this is the preamble to get to the point. The point is, Moses was described as the meekest man in all the earth. Now, that is very surprising. How come the leader of the nation, who was as bold as he was, who was brought up in the Egyptian household and was a prince in Egypt, how could he be described as meek? Like, how is that possible? Because in our minds, somebody who is the leader of a nation is generally not meek. Because the people who get promoted are the pushy types, the self-aggrandizement types. Self-aggrandizement is the opposite of self-effacing. But notwithstanding that, Moses was described as that, right? So to get back to the point is meekness is not weakness. Meekness is not weakness. It would be a weak person that would be easily manipulated. You with me, Shweta?
Yes, sir. Sir, this meek, I think I understand it wrong because I just searched the word M-I-C-K on Google and it gives the word, the meaning is offensive and derogatory, like something.
Yeah.
And the word that you are trying to understand, make us is M-E-E-K, right?
Yes.
Okay.
These are homophones, right? We call these kind of words homophones.
Yes, homophones, right?
So yeah, so we talk about taking the Mickey. Taking the Mickey is to make fun of somebody. So if I was taking the Mickey out of Shweta, I would be making fun of her, right? Not in any offensive way, just in a bit of fun. Taking the Mickey. So let me share the screen again. So taking the Mickey. To tease someone or make jokes about them in a way that causes them to seem ridiculous. He started taking the Mickey out of this poor man just because he was bald. Taking the Mickey. Okay, now it's got nothing to do with meek, which is this. Quiet, gentle, easy, imposed on, submissive. There's a good word there, submissive. She brought her meek little husband along. She must have been a bit of a dragon, right? Meek. Now, Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. In the King James Version, which is the older version I would tend to read, now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men that are upon the face of the earth. Now, this is a very strong statement. Okay, and it's also surprising. It is surprising.
I have a question, so is it out of the topic? Can I ask it? You can like describe that thing in the next meeting. Can I
Okay,
ask it?
you asked the question.
Okay. So it is basically like I have heard it from a Christian guy, and he was saying that the origin of the Israel-Palestine issue is like in the Bible times.
Yes,
Is it true?
that is absolutely so. That is absolutely so.
Okay, you can
And
explain that.
I'm happy to answer that. Very happy, but we'll not do it tonight because we've been going for 2.25 hours, right?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's all laid out there. Yeah.
I also want to know about it because I just heard the name and Palestine, but I don't know about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can discuss that thing in the next class if you want.
Okay, I'm happy to just speak about it.
Sir, one more thing.
Yeah.
We have like a handful words in our copies that we already done in last classes. So I think we should do a class on which we can use these words like an either on discussion or anything. So it will be like a remind for all the words that we already discussed.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And like generally the way the class works is I do 90% of the talking, right? You guys ask some questions and I do all the talking. I am more than happy to shut up, right? And let you guys do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can do things like correct your grammar. Hey, what you just said, Shredder, was this. What you should say was that. Right? Your grammar was not right. Right?
It should not be passive learning. It should be
yeah. So I'm happy to do that. So like you guys have a think and have a confab, a little chit chat about what you want and how I can help you best, right? And it was quite a helpful suggestion Elhan gave to go through these words. I think it was helpful. You can go through that list a bit more. But all of you guys are pretty good at English now, right? You know, and I can now speak at full speed. I am not slowing down one iota. One iota. That is a very helpful expression. This means
I know that.
You know what I mean, right? Iota.
Yeah.
Iota is the smallest letter in the Hebrew. It's a wee dot, right?
Yeah.
And
we use that in mathematics also. Like there is a in complex number we have this iota term.
Exactly. Iota. So it's the smallest, and because it is the smallest letter in the Hebrew, so it says like not even an iota, it means not even a little bit, right? So we say that in English then, right? That comes from the Bible, again. And so we bring it into English and say not even an iota, not even a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'm like in the initial times it was tough for me to get the accent. So I think now I'm completely fine with your accent and I understand
Yeah.
whatever most of the things that you say.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, no, but I've noticed this because in the beginning I had to repeat myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do that so much. I do want you to slow me down if I am speaking too fast, just like, hey, hold your horses, right? Hold your horses. I will slow down, no problem. But I did read about this, that apparently your ear gets tuned, right? It's like listening to a musical instrument. Your ear gets tuned to an accent, right? So your ears
Yes, sir.
tuning in
our ear get accustomed to hear your voice.
Yeah, and you will end up speaking like a little bit.
Yeah, but in India, people will make fun if we'll speak like this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it'll be very helpful when you come to do a job interview.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Especially even if you spoke with an Indian accent, if you use like expressions that are native, you know, British expressions, like some of which we've done today, you know, like even if you say, you know, I like to think of myself as a safe pair of hands, you know, whoa, what did you just say? I really want a job because I don't want to end up in dire straits, right? I mean, you know, like so many of these expressions are very, you know, if you use this kind of vocabulary and language, you know, people will be paying you attention, you know, they'll be writing your name down. What's that, the girl's name? Yeah, that's right. Hire her, right? Because that's what it is, right? It's a game, right? You play the game. You want to get hired. You want to get the job. You want to get the university place. You want to get the promotion, blah, 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 blah. Communication is 50% of life, right? It's not just all that's going in here. That's important, but it's how you communicate. Okay, guys.
Also, yeah. Also, sir, I got a job recently. I thought that I was in a phase that I was having this feeling that my life is a bit stagnant, so I need to do a job. So I got selected. I did that interview. It was in English and all that stuff. So I got selected. And my job is basically the speaking part. So I have to do the speaking part.
Oh, congrats.
Very good. Very good. Okay, I will bid you all good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll go get my supper now.
All the best, sir. Thank you.
All right. See you all.
See you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank